Now, he's the one that has the arm of Vash attached to him. So he pretty much tells Vash, well, this is what I can achieve with just a fraction of your ability. With just one of your arms, this is what I can achieve, and you're so weak because you have a whole body of the superior being that has superior power over these humans, but you choose not to use it. And that's also Knives' point, too, that Vash is so weak and humbled that he chooses not to use this.
We are gods among men. What are you doing?
Right, exactly.
And Knives, going into the backstory of Knives led to the downfall of the said space crew. He turns everyone against each other, manipulates people into doing things. And the real tragedy is Rim. Rim is definitely the source of Vash's ideal nature of pacifism. And God bless Rim. Oh my God, the space hippie. I love Rim. I like her character. I think she's well voiced. But man, did you have lead to a lot of ramifications for Vash. And it's almost the snowball at the top of the hill that just, when you really analyze the show, like, man, her influence is really stuck around for hundreds of years in the timeline of the show. But she ends up sacrificing herself to save all the passengers on the crew. She launches the escape pods in the ship to land safely, or attempt to land safely on the planet called Gunsmoke. What did you know that it was not on Earth early on?
Yes, I knew it was not on Earth. Well, I mean, I guess I should say yes and no.
Were you suspicious?
When I first watched it, I thought maybe it was just apocalyptic society, since there's so many, like Earth has gone down and it looks like a, Western just barren void. I'm like, okay, this may be Earth. But then once it started to get further along in the episodes, it kind of made itself clear that, yeah, this was a colonized other planet. It became more clear as the series went on.
And I like the idea too. I like any idea of when society and humankind's advance too far to the brink of touching the sun. It goes back a few ages in technology too. And it definitely felt very steampunky, in a sense. And I absolutely love the you could almost call the planet of Gunsmoke a character in itself because of the setting, the tone, the way of life on there. It's very much the Old West, and this is descendants of people that went into the stars and traveled planets. And I kind of like that almost Planet of the Apes kind of thing of regression. Unintentional. It's just, yeah, you've gone too far to the sun. Your wings are melting now. But yeah, Knives sabotages that. A lot of the humans survive to his dismay, and ends up taking Vash, and he convinces Vash, like, hey, we're brothers, we're family, you need to come with me, or you can hate me, and it's pointless. So they land on Earth, and they start raiding a ship. Knives leaves Vash alone for 13 years. It was a long time. He left him. He tells his brother, stay down here and I will be back.
Yeah, he did leave him. I'm not sure if it was for that long, but it was for some years, yeah.
And he comes back down with the angel guns. To like, hey, we can use these to kill the humans now. And Vash is like, pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, you're still going on about that? I won't let you do that. It's just like, oh my gosh, I love that character dynamic between the brothers too. And it's
a Cain and Abel situation.
Yes, it's very Cain and Abel. And I love that a scene that is no more than 3 to 5 minutes leaves an impact. Like, I remember it just like I'm watching it again, like right now. And I'm not even watching it now. I haven't seen Trigun since you and I watched it last year, and I almost quote it. And it's a very good series. It's very memorable too. I can definitely see why it's popular on a lot of people's list. Going back to the Gung Ho Guns, the ones that we're going to point out are the kind of the emotional peaks for Vash. Dominic the Cyclops was the first gung-ho gun he actually fought. I liked it because he knows it's sent by it's Legato's henchmen, but he just messes with her. It's almost that line of, come on, you guys, the things are changing. And it's a cool fight. You definitely get to see that Vash is really intelligent because he figures out her move really quick. And I don't hate, it is a pet peeve, and I've grown into it. And you're in a shonen fight, do not explain your ability. Just shut up about your ability.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The rules to this rule, if your ability is so powerful it doesn't matter, then go ahead and tell your opponent. It doesn't matter. I'll use Sosuke Aizen's Shikai ability, the absolute hypnosis, as an example. You're under hypnosis. There's nothing you can do about it. Too late. Go ahead and explain it. It does not matter. Byakuya's Bankai. Yes, there are a million razor blades flying in the air. I can control them with my hand to make them fast. You're not dodging it. Like that stuff. And it's staying on Bleach, the smart characters shut up about their ability. They don't go into every detail about their Bankai or their ability. Hitsugaya does not reveal that, oh, my Bankai has a time limit. If that time limit goes off, I transform into an even stronger form. Kiraku and Ukitake from Bleach, not a word on their abilities, unless they had to. In Kiraku's case, his was turning children's games into reality. Well, the sword won't do the abilities unless the opponent knows what the rules are. Right. So it's like, okay, I can accept that.
Flaw with Bleach is that that's one of the reasons I stopped Bleach, was because it got so boring. It got all the characters, it's very unrealistic fighting, where they're fighting each other, but they have huge monologuing, and it's done so they can fill episode times, because they're trying to fill a bunch of episodes, and Bleach is a crap ton of episodes, where Trigun is like, thank God, because here comes realism. You don't have time. There's seconds that decide the battles. Literally
the pacing
seconds.
Too, Trigun seemed to not take itself serious at times.
Right, but there's only so many episodes.
And because it didn't take itself serious, even what might have been filler, it felt like natural progression of the show, because, Vash would do that, or the girls would do that.
Yeah, and it's 25, 26 episodes, where Bleach is like, what, 300
and
episodes?
something. Yeah. If you take, incredibly, if you take out the filler, it is about 150. It's a lot more realistic to watch, filler free. Yeah. The last point on Bleach I'll take is Ukitake, one of the older captains, who's well over 1,000 years old. His ability is to absorb an energy blast or a Cero and fire it back at an opponent. He does not even describe the ability, he just does it, and it's up to the opponent to figure out, what did you do? And he even says, I don't know, I guess it was a Cero blast. It's like, yes, don't tell me about your ability, because that means weaknesses are discovered. Right. And I love Trigun because there's not really a lot of talking. It's kind of implied that Vash is trying to figure out what's going on with her ability. Or how to get the upper hand on some of these gunfights. Mona of the Gale is another standout fight because it's one of the most collateral damage battles in entire cities caught in the crossfire in the middle of the night against a guy with arm cannons. And a lot of people died. This show was very unapologetic in death. First 6 episodes is almost pro NRA. Guns are absolutely awesome, and the guns are really cool. To this fight, like, oh my gosh, all the horrific things. All these people are. But okay.
Yeah, I guess in a way, Vash's character is still kind of a pro-gun in a way message with him, because
But there's a right way to use it.
He does break his rule. He does end up killing someone, and it destroys him, but it's definitely a defensive.
Yes.
Definitely defense. He definitely uses his gun for defense, and it definitely proves that you can use a weapon as a defense. It definitely proves the point that a gun is a tool.
Yep.
And the tool means nothing without a wielder, and the wielder is the one who decides how it's going to be used. Literally, Vash can use his gun to just, get out of all kinds of crazy situations and bring peace. He goes, love and peace, love and peace.
Oh my gosh, I can't stand anymore.
Over and over. And he does use it for that. He truly does. Where other characters who have decided, like Knives, to kill, use their, innate abilities, guns, what have you, their telekinesis to kill, they do. It's all in what you choose to use it to do.
Yeah, Mona the Gale was a very interesting chess piece because he was the one that almost pushed Vash over the edge early on. And the genius of Knives was, it reminds me of the Dark Knight Joker before the Dark Knight, of trying to break Batman, of trying to corrupt him.
Yeah.
And that's Knives' complete motivation, is to break Vash for revenge of taking his arm.
He wants to condition Vash to fit his perfect idea
ideal
of utopia, because he's sure that he's going to destroy all of humanity. He wants to rid all of humanity so it'll just be him and his brother forever.
Yeah.
And Vash is like, no, this is evil. I don't believe that I'm better. Vash and obviously his brother have major human-like flaws. They have the same emotions. They're sinning just like the rest of us. So obviously, even with their physical powers over us, mentally, they have an edge too, but they still have the same flaws. They still have many of the same flaws.
One of the other incredible fights, and I loved how it resolved too, because of just Vash stayed in character, was against Kane the Longshot. Kane the Longshot is off in the distance with a 50-foot barrel, at least, maybe even 75-foot sniper barrel. It is so awesome. Oh my gosh, it is like right out of a DC comic book. It is incredible. But he sets up a sniper perch. He's firing shots at Vash Wolfwood in the city, while there is another member of the Gung Ho Guns in the city, Chapel. So they split up to you take out Chapel, I'll take out the sniper. And when Vash gets there, he gets the edge on him, finds him, has him at gunpoint. And Vash even offered, I'm paraphrasing, like, hey, just give it up and all will be forgiven. And the guy's like, Kane commits suicide. And Vash feels so guilty that he lets someone die again. And it carries over into the next episode too, of when Wolfwoods walks by him. He's like, I couldn't save everybody. I couldn't. I took a life, or in a sense. And Vash really gets hung up. Rim, you did some damage on this poor kid. And going into Chapel, the Chapel raised Nicholas Wolfwood as an apprentice into the Gung Ho Guns, or turned him into a killing machine. And the fight with Chapel was really cool. It's very well animated. It's very emotional. It's like an emotional string just to winding up till it breaks. And what did you think of it?
I
might be overselling it.
Character deaths go, was a very good character death, because Vash had an amazing effect on, Wolfwood's character. He'd gone from, he'd already kind of turned away from a lot of violence. I mean, he was an orphan originally, and he said that he didn't want any other orphan to have a painful upbringing like he had. Mm-hmm. So he kind of went through this emotional journey with Vash until finally, at the end, basically at his death, he's fighting to help protect Vash, which originally he was hired to help take Vash down. So he's like, no more of this whole, criminal, I'm going after trying to at least kill guilty people. In his mind, as long as I kill the guilty ones, I can get money that way. And he has this whole death scene of him reliving, his past flashes before his eyes.
So getting to the conclusion of the Chapel fight, Nicholas had the upper hand. He had him dead to rights, and he chooses to let him go. And he even comments of like, God, I've been hanging around this guy too long, where something rubs off on him. Like, man, he just rubs off on you. And he turns his back away, and Chapo gets possessed by Legato and ends up blowing Nicholas away. And ironically, Chapo did not want to kill Nicholas either. He just wanted to capture him and bring him back on orders, wasn't it?
It kind of applied that he had now, Wolfwood
Realized?
had completely, not completely, but pretty much adopted Vash's way of thinking.
Yeah.
He was like, I want to be merciful now, I want to change. And that's what it culminated into his whole death throes, which was, I've pretended to be a Christian, but I have been a terrible one. God, can you kind of forgive me for this? I really don't want to die yet.
That scene,
yeah.
I still can't get through it without crying in the chapel. And I remember watching it with you. I kept anxiously looking at you, and you just had this face of horror of like, oh my gosh, this is so well done.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't feel like a cheap death. It felt very well earned, very well deserved.
Yeah.
And I'm glad a show went through with it. Kind of like with Kamina and Grimlogen, like, show, do you have the balls to do that? Oh my God, you do.
Yeah, definitely people are not a permanent fixture. Characters that you get attached to, they can pass away. And plenty of villains pass, so... and it's definitely hard on Vash because a lot of his own people that are still up in the sky that are on his original ship, even that he occasionally visits, because Vash is he's over 100 years old. Vash, over this time span, we're only getting a tiny bit of the years in these episodes, of Vash's actual life, because he's actually been, alive for more than 100 years. And he gets to see so many of his own people die that it's taken its toll on him too by the end of this series. So it definitely by the end of the series, I really applaud it, and it ended really, really well.
So would you ever host a group called Living Forever and have like Connor McLeod, Duncan McLeod, Logan, Vash the Stampede talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, so what have we seen the last 100 years? I would love to be a fly in that room.
That would be funny. That would be very hysterical, especially to do in kind of like a little animated short, have all these people that can live forever.
Or they do a podcast called Your Life is Nothing But a Blink of My Eye.
Yeah.
I've seen things, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, oh, man. Going on to... wrapping up the Gung Ho Guns, what did you think of them as a enemy group? Because when you think of villain groups, you think of Akatsuki, you think of the Spada from Bleach, the pirates from... there is a group of pirates from One Piece. I've never watched One Piece. I'm so sorry, guys. But there are a lot of iconic groups of anime villains. Queen Barrel's henchmen are some of them are more memorable than others. The enemy's samurai from Ronin Warriors, they all stood out. There were 3 of them. They were like the lieutenants of that enemy force. I'm trying to think what else, but it's almost mano y mano. The Espada, the Stern Riders in Bleach were introduced later on, and that's a huge rogues. 26 of them, 1 for each letter of them, with all unique abilities. The Gung Ho Guns really stood out to me because they were all they all wielded firearms. Even the samurai had Raide the Blade. It's like, you're okay, I guess you are a Gung Ho Gun. Oh my gosh, your sheath turns into a shotgun.
Well, I mean, these are the Japanese. They have to have...
and the saxophone guy.
They have to have their samurai in there, which I really loved that.
Mid-Valley the Horn Freak, it's a jazz musicianist, and his is a gun too, in a sense. They all had gun-related, or one actually turned into a bullet, essentially. He was like Puck from X-Men. Mixed with the Juggernaut.
Yeah, each Gung Ho Gun is pretty much, you can just wrap it up into this. They're all hired by Knives for each their own unique skill sets, and each one of them has, the puppet master, and all of them are uniquely different, and each one of them has a goal in making Vash, emotionally collapse, so he's ripe for the picking, so to speak, to to be the next member of Knives, ultimate
little club,
world domination.
And I love Vash's gun. I love that it's iconically designed after the Smith & Wesson, the gun that won the West, essentially. I also wanted to point out the voice actor for Nicholas D. Wolfwood is named. His name is Jeff Nimoy, and he is actually related to the late Leonard Nimoy. And there is a great Did You Know video on YouTube about Trigun where he narrates the facts for that show. Going into the music, and we're not going to do this with every show, obviously, but the soundtrack to me on this one really stood out. Soundtracks really can make or break a series. If a soundtrack has memorable tracks, it makes that series even better. Take the soundtrack away from Bebop. It's still a good series, but man, there are some tracks that you just know from Bebop. Like you listen to New York City Rush, The Asteroid, a lot of the waltzes, jazz ballads, real folk blues. It's like, oh man, that's Bebop. That is the heart and soul of Bebop. The few tracks that stood out to me was the first one was Rim. I love the sound to it. It's very tranquil, very folk songy too. Never Could Have Been Worse and Blue Funk, very twangy, very southern.
Well, it's a very Western,
very westernized
anime. So they really wanted something that felt like the Old West. And they wanted something kind of modern, but obviously very Western. So they wanted that kind of twangy country, old-timey Western feel to it. And then they definitely put that in their music, just like, Bebop put, the old blues,
numbers.
jazz, and mixed it into their score.
And we are going to end on that. Closing thoughts on Trigun. Was it worth watching?
Oh, absolutely. It was totally worth even rewatching. So if there's it says a lot about an anime.
You went the extra mile. You watched it right before recording.
Yep.
I'm so glad that this was on the list. I'm so glad you liked this series. I was nervous at too. Kind of like with Gurren Lagann, it's if you can get through the first few episodes, it's almost a chore. Not as much as Gurren Lagann though. Cause Trigun's first few episodes does not take it so serious. It has a great setup though. And it's one of those setups of, man, I gotta know what happens next in this world. I want to follow Vash. And 4 or 5 episodes in, the girls still have no idea that they're actually following Vash the Stampede. They're insisting on this guy just keeps popping in the way. We get out of where we were busy.